Hi, my name is Dr. Ishani Rao, and this webinar for Protect the Mind series for Protect the Wild will focus on how we can stay motivated within activism. We've previously covered issues that can cause people to stop engaging with the animal rights movement. I'm sure we've all seen incredible activists burning out or suffering from traumatic events that have meant that they've actually walked away from activism altogether. It's such a loss when this happens, as we need as many hands, help, and kind humans to safeguard the animals and advocate for the planet as possible. Some of the strategies that we've discussed to prevent or recover from burnout include asking for help, setting boundaries such as saying no to additional commitments, using resources that are available such as mentoring schemes, taking breaks, reaching out to people who can understand your causes, focusing on small wins, and making time to regularly practice self care. Methods of reducing traumatic responses to stressful situations include calming your senses, for example, using cold or smell therapies, simple breathing exercises, visualization techniques, seeking professional mental help from supportive practitioners, and practicing brain training exercises to improve neuroplasticity and your ability to cope under pressure. I love this quote, which says, I cannot do all of the good that the world needs, but the world needs all of the good that I can do. Of course, we all want to solve climate change and abolish cruelty to animals right now. It can be so frustrating when we don't see the immediate results of our efforts. It can be infuriating when we know that we are working so hard and other people don't even care or even might go against our work. It's important to reframe our perspective from one of feeling demoralized to one of feeling empowered and driven. We need to remind ourselves that the planet needs people like us. The animals need people like us. Can you imagine how dire the situation would be if we didn't have so many incredible humans working hard to protect it? Every conversation that we have, every animal that we save, every change that we make within organizations, every conscious decision that we make has a huge impact to help the world to be a kinder place. We might not be able to fix things overnight, but we can definitely make the situation a whole lot better. I saw this picture, which reminds me of the value of restructuring and reorganizing whenever I'm not sure what to do next. Making to do lists and breaking tasks down into small, achievable blocks can prevent you from feeling overwhelmed when there is so much to do. For example, aiming for specific goals, such as research for paragraph about mental health, is much more manageable than simply aiming to write book. Aiming for 30 minutes of yoga is much more easy for our brains to process than simply aiming to exercise, for example. Crossing items off your to do list is so satisfying that it can actually give you a dopamine rush and become very addictive. Often we can get so caught up on focusing on the so many things that we can't control that we forget that there are an enormous amount of things that we actually can control. It's important to note that I'm referring to what we cannot control right now in this immediate moment, as I do believe that we have the ability to influence far more around us than the system wants us to realize. However, at times when you feel defeated, then do come back to consider the many things that are within your ability to act on. These can include resetting your boundaries, revisiting your goals, how you're spending your time and your energy, your approach to tackling challenges, and how you speak to yourself. Your inner voice is a really key element in dictating how you feel within yourself and how you respond during times of adversity. So many of us are kind to the animals, to other activists, and to the people that we love, yet we might use such harsh or critical voices to ourselves. It's important to be your own biggest cheerleader and to use supportive words and tones to yourself like you would do to the people that you care about. For example, if you perform badly on a task, then try to reframe your perspective from thinking, oh, I'm just crap, to saying, well, I tried my best, but next time I really need to work on so and so. Resetting your internal narration to be more gentle and encouraging can actually reduce inflammation and subconscious stress responses in our bodies. We deserve to give ourselves the same compassion and love that we do to our activism. And with patience and practice, we can achieve that. Carefully choosing the media that we want to consume is vital in caring for our mindset. Phones and social media are often demonized and, of course, can have a huge negative impact on people's mental health when abused. However, when used positively, we potentially have an endless supply of information, resources, books, learning tools, communication, and fun constantly at our fingertips. I listen to a few hours of educational podcasts every day, and I'm constantly learning about interesting topics, even when I'm doing the dishes or I'm in the shower. I don't follow any news on social media, and if I see anything that makes me feel unhappy, then I block it or hide it. I specifically follow positive media that I can learn from, including pages about gardening, vegan recipes, animal rescues, positive news stories, sustainable travel tips, medical education, the inspiring work of other activists, DIY tips, motivational quotes and stories, wildlife photography, scuba diving and marine conservation projects, which are very important to me, animal rights and environmental charities, videos that make me laugh, and of course, lots of cats. As we know, doom scrolling can be incredibly disheartening and is a complete waste of time and valuable energy. Social media is designed to make you feel disempowered and to become addicted to it for all the wrong reasons. It's easy to just avoid it completely by taking an hour to curate your social media to be filled with pages that make you feel happy and inspire you, and to filter out those that don't. The voice and attitude that we use towards other people is also vital to determine how motivated we remain within activism. If we become emotionally invested, frustrated, and disappointed by people around us, then we're much more likely to burn out and less likely to remain happy, healthy, affected, and motivated activists. Sometimes it's essential to take a step back from situations and to emotionally distance ourselves in order to protect our own energy. Prioritizing our own needs and personal space is an important way of ensuring that our attitude towards other people is as kind and as tolerant as possible. If we see every opportunity for conversation or action as one that could potentially plant a seed and help people on their journeys, then we're far more likely to inspire and motivate change. A brilliant workshop with the Animal Rebellion's Plant Based Councils campaign recently reminded me of the value of incremental changes towards our shared goal. Remember that we weren't all born animal rights activists, and that it was likely to be a series of events or realizations that brought us to where we are today. During my GP consultations, it's so important to be empathetic and really listen to my patients, otherwise, they shut down and become defensive. It can be so difficult to do that when we can clearly see what's right and what's wrong. But let's try and bring people to where we are from a place of patience and compassion. Let's talk about sleep, movement, community, and nutrition. These are four of the key pillars of health that are fundamental to address if we want to feel well within our bodies and our brains. We spend approximately a third of our lives asleep, and sleep is vital to ensure effective cognitive functioning and brain processing. It's been suggested that when we sleep, our brain goes through deep cleaning and waste removal through a system called the glymphatic system. Chronic sleep deprivation increases the risk for various brain diseases, and good sleep can improve our memory, mood, and even our immune system. We will talk more about how to improve sleep quality in our online interactive session. Incorporating movement into your everyday practice is also vital, and studies have shown that those who are more physically active have lower risks of anxiety and depression. Choose something that you love doing, whether it's dancing, swimming, hiking, cycling, yoga, playing team sports, or lifting weights. Exercise is a brilliant way to naturally boost our endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin levels. The UK's Chief Medical Officer's guidelines recommend adults perform at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity each week. If you have a sedentary job, then you might want to consider getting a walking desk or setting an alarm to remind you to regularly stretch and to move. The value of community is incredible in allowing us to feel happy and stable within ourselves and within our network. It matters because it builds a sense of purpose, creates social connections, and offers a support system during challenging times. Feeling part of community has been shown to reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, and even the incidence of strokes and heart attacks. Do reach out to that person that you've been meaning to get in touch with. Call a loved one when you're out for a walk. Organise that cup of tea and catch up that you've been planning for absolutely months. It doesn't matter whether you talk about activism, whether you vent about your current emotions, or discuss completely unrelated topics. Spending time with people whose experiences and company you value can be incredibly motivating and uplifting. Setting boundaries and moving away from relationships that are unhealthy and of not serving you a purpose is completely responsible too. Finding a mentor can be very helpful in staying motivated and in guiding you through challenges. They may be individuals who've been through similar situations, or simply somebody that understands your cause and who you can approach for advice. A few of my mentors who I will use as a soundboard for ideas include trusted friends such as Dr. Iron Junkie Minil Patel, Dr. Shireen Kassam, who's the founder of Plant Based Health Professionals, and engineer Dr. Ishani Rao, who founded the Climate Healers. The key here is not simply to find somebody who agrees with everything that you say. Find somebody who is supportive, yet still challenges your actions when necessary, and who can provide you with an alternative and experienced perspective when problem solving. Has anybody heard about the gut brain axis? This is a relatively new but promising field in nutritional medicine. This diagram is taken from a really exciting paper published in the Journal of Translational Psychiatry called The Effects of Plant-Based Diets on the Body and the Brain, a Systematic Review. And this is one of the best papers that I can find, which looks at the role of healthy eating on improving how we're feeling. There are multiple links between the gut and the brain, including a direct link between the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system, and through indirect links via hormones and neurotransmitters. It might surprise you that 80% of our serotonin, one of the key mediators in controlling our mood, is actually produced in the gut. When we're feeling stressed, it might be tempting to reach for processed junk food, but it's really important during these times and at all times to fuel our brains with colourful, healthy, nutritious ingredients. You can change your taste buds over time to crave whole food plant based ingredients. It's also important to consider taking supplements such as B12, vitamin D, and even iron or magnesium, as deficiencies in these can lead to symptoms that mimic mental health issues such as depression, cognitive slowing, and fatigue. I'm just going to read you a short tale that I think is really relevant here and I absolutely love. A young boy came to his grandfather, filled with anger at somebody who'd done him an injustice. So the grandfather begins to share his wisdom. A fight is going on inside me, he told the young boy. A fight between two wolves. One is evil. He has anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, superiority, and ego. And he continued, but one wolf is good. He has joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The grandson ponders this for a moment and then asked, Grandfather, which wolf will win? And the grandfather simply smiled and said, the one you feed. I think that there is a place for anger in our activism. There is a place for frustration and for sadness because all of this can motivate our action. However, we can't let these emotions negatively take a toll on ourselves. So it's how we channel that energy that's so important. Switching between different forms of activism can be really valuable here, especially if you feel as though you're burning out on another form. Of course, direct action, protests, and street outreach are incredible and effective ways to motivate change. But if you feel as though you can't shout through a megaphone or engage with potentially traumatic events today, then there are so many other forms of activism which can actually be really calming for your nervous system. Writing poetry and creating art is activism. Watching films and staying educated through reading and podcasts is activism. Arranging well-being days to relax with other allies is activism. Arranging vegan cooking demos, litter picking walks, and volunteering in animal sanctuaries are all much more gentle forms of activism that can also be really therapeutic and healing. There is a role for everybody within animal rights and environmental activism. These roles may vary with time based on how we're feeling within the movement and what we're capable of managing today. We all have our different skill sets and varied approaches to how we want to achieve animal and environmental liberation, and they all have the potential to have an effective place within our activism circles. I will discuss ways that we can improve collaboration in our next webinar about interactivist tension. Here are some resources that I found really helpful to stay excited and engaged within animal rights activism. Brilliant podcasts that I listen to all the time include National Geographic's Planet Hope and Jane Goodall's Hopecast, which both cover inspiring and motivational stories from changemakers in the conservation movement. We the Free have published a brilliant article available online titled Most Animal Activists Give Up. Here's how to avoid that. We the Free have also kindly arranged free access to courses from the Centre for Effective Vegan Advocacy using the code WTF at checkout. These are delivered by world renowned psychologist and animal rights activist Dr. Melanie Joy. Staying up to date with breakthroughs and scientific research through websites such as Sentient Media and Faunalytics reminds me of why our course is so important and motivates me to keep advocating for the animals and the planet every day. Here is some beautiful artwork that my good friend and animal rights activist Sol kindly put together for Protect the Wild. Thank you for watching this webinar on activist mental health, which is our third in the series Protect the Mind. Please join us for our upcoming online interactive discussion about staying motivated in animal rights and environmental activism. Again, I'm so grateful for your incredible work, and I hope that you found this session useful.